Good evening. My name is Dr. Robert Pelly, and I'm going to be the instructor for your Principles of Microeconomics class. The thing about economics is it's one of those disciplines that most people don't really understand. It's if you're an economist, the specialist, especially if you're at a large group gathering, you're, I don't know, at a ball game, you're at a fundraiser, you're at your local bar, people ask you what you do and you tell them you're an economist, you get this glazed over look, and for people actually a little leery of what kind of what does this guy really do for a living. It's not like the look you get if you say, well, I'm a lawyer, I'm a doctor, I'm a policeman, I'm a bartender. Everybody has an idea of what those individuals would do for a living, but once you throw out the fact that you're an economist, you get these really weird looks, and people start to back off. So if you're ever at your next social function and you want people to leave you alone, the next time somebody asks you what you do for a living, tell them you're an economist, and I will guarantee you they'll leave you alone, because once you tell them you're an economist, they can't figure out how to start up a conversation, how to make the flow go, and how to engage you in small talk, because they don't know where to start. And so one of the things we're going to do in this class is get everybody comfortable with the concept of being an economist, the principles of economic theory, talking about economics as a discipline, because economics is really a social science. It's a social science that deals in choice. People are making, choices on a daily basis, and they're making choices among alternative options or alternatives just in general, based on what's available to them. And, it's a social science because it involves people and their behavior. And it is a science because economists, if possible, take a scientific approach in their daily jobs and how they do their work. If you stop to think about it, we all make choices, hundreds of choices on a daily basis. You got up this morning and, the first thing you did, you thought, well, do I brush my teeth or do I fix breakfast? And if it was fix breakfast, then you had to decide, am I going to fix breakfast at home, or am I going to go and stop by McDonald's or Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts or somewhere on the way to work to get breakfast? And if you decide that you're running a little late and you're going to either go to work, or in most people's case, if you're taking a principles of micro class, you're probably going to school, and that's another decision you make. Do you go to school and go to class? Do you take a day for you, to kind of maximize your personal well-being and your health? If you decide that you're going to, you look outside and it's raining, you think, okay, I'm going to go to school then, and you've decided to stop and get breakfast on the way to work, and you swing into, I don't know, Scarcity, like everybody likes to go to Starbucks. If you swing into Starbucks, then you are faced with a plethora of choices. Do you get a breakfast sandwich? Do you get a muffin? Do you get some kind of do you get a black coffee? Do you get a coffee with cream and sugar? Do you get some kind of woo-woo drink that's, a fancy coffee that's worth, I don't know, Starbucks probably charges you $10 a cup for, whatever the price is. And that's what you do on a daily basis, as you're making choices about this, choices about that. And as you go through the process of making choices, that is the basis of what an economist does day in and day out, is they are estimating, they're predicting, they are forecasting what consumers, people that buy and sell goods and services, what consumers are going to act, what kind of choices they make, and what their behavior entails. And as you make choices, two things raise their ugly head. A, the term of scarcity, and B, the term of opportunity cost, because every choice you make between alternatives or among alternative options deals in, whether directly or indirectly, you're dealing with scarcity and you're dealing with opportunity cost. What everybody needs to understand when you're talking about microeconomics is it's human nature And we're all functioning as humans, at least hope so, but it's human nature that we have unlimited wants and you're faced with limited resources. Everybody, desires something that they don't already have. That is a basic want of human nature. We're always wanting, if it is a desirable good, more is preferred to less. That's a basics of, economics just in general. And very few people are in a situation where they don't desire something that they don't have. Bezos, Donald Trump, you think of all of the millionaires, billionaires in the world, they don't have everything they want. There's always one other thing that they want that they don't have, they don't control, because it is an unlimited want and a limited resource. And that's where scarcity comes into play. And the book describes scarcity, and I'll just read you their definition. Scarcity is a condition in which people attempt to meet unlimited wants with limited resources. It's the intersection of making that choice, the intersection of making choices of wants and resources, the intersection of determining what that choice is going to be among competing alternatives out there. And when you're making choices, it's essentially you're doing one thing. You're picking option A as you forego option B, or you're picking option B as you forego option A, or maybe you're picking option A and you're foregoing B, C, D, and E. But you are making choices, you're selecting a route or making a decision based on a want, and you're also foregoing other opportunities that may satisfy that want. And at least in your perception or in your mind, it's not going to satisfy that want to the degree that maybe the selection that you make does. And it says it also, the book talks about a scarce good. It's a good for which a choice of one alternative requires another choice be given up. And one other thing that we'll get into, and I'll get it out there right now, but probably get into it a little later in the book. A scarce good is something of value. The higher the scarcity of the good typically means the higher value. Also, a scarce good is what they call excludable, and it's rivalrous. If a good is rivalrous, it means if you select it for one alternative, you can't use it for another alternative. If it's excludable, it means a producer can exclude you from selecting that good or service based on price. So a scarce good is excludable and it's rivalrous. If you compare that to a free good is non-excludable and non-rivalrous. And about the only one that they could come up with in the book as a free good is gravity. Because gravity holds us, not only all of us on Earth, but it holds, every living thing on Earth. And so it's a good or service that can be enjoyed by all of us at the same time. And so it's non-rivalrous and it's non-excludable. They also, used to people, in their thinking, they thought about air as a free good. Well, they go into detail in the text about air not being necessarily a free good, because if air was a free good, then you wouldn't have pollution, because air has an alternative use. Air we breathe, air that we use, and it's pollutable because of driving back and forth to work, driving on vacation, driving to activities. So air is not considered a free good anymore, just like outer space is not considered a free good anymore, because you've got satellites orbiting, you've got people exploring outer space, and areas within outer space may not necessarily be used by multiple well, maybe not multiple individuals, but multiple nations at the same time. And there is another type of good that the book doesn't talk about, and that's a public good. Public goods sometimes are called social goods. They've been referred to as collective goods. It is closer to a free good than it is a scarce good, and a public good. So public goods kind of in between. If you think two tails of the distribution, you got scarce goods here, you got a free good here. Public goods are somewhere in between those. Public goods, for the most part, are driven by taxation. So the government, state, local, federal, whatever, has collected taxes, and they are providing these public goods. National parks, state parks, regional parks, sidewalks, streetlights, sewers, all of these are public goods that are provided to individuals, and they can be consumed at the same time. So they're not exactly rivalrous, because two people can use a sidewalk at the same time. Two people can use a national park at the same time. Two children can go to the public school at the same time. So they're not rivalrous. To some extent, I guess it could be excludable if the park charges admission to get into. But again, they're all driven by taxation. And so for whatever reason, the authors of the textbook decided to leave the public good out there. But I think we'll get into public goods somewhere down the line in this textbook. So I wanted to get it out there for everybody to understand what it was. And then they launch into, what's an economy? And an economy, as they define it, it's an organization that produces goods and services and then allocates them to people to use, or for people to use. That makes sense. An economy. Economy can be as small as a household. It can be a firm. It can be a market. It can be a country. It can be a world. You hear the talking heads on Fox News talking about, oh my God, the economy in the United States is, it is in terrible shape. And then they'll launch into the global economy, the global economy, the economy that, it's in China, and then, economies of Western Europe, they're impacting our economy. So what are we going to do about the global economy? So economies can go from something as small as a household to something as, large as the world. And the textbook talks about a household. I think it's talking about, I remember the example correctly, they're talking about somebody making a pot of chili. And, the pot of chili in the household, so multiple people in the household, they may only have enough chili for, like, let's say there's 6 people in the household, they've only got enough chili for 3 people. So, what are they going to do? Because now they're talking about unlimited wants of a bowl of chili of 6 people and limited resources. They've only got 3 bowls of chili. So that's what households are faced with. Same thing with, entities, your local health plan. If you look at Fisk University as a university, they have unlimited wants and limited resources. You've got Meharry Medical Center across the street, same thing, unlimited wants, limited resources. So you can see how it can snowball from an individual or a household all the way through the complete continuum to the world economy. And the economy is always faced with 3 decisions, and it's 3 decisions that economists zero in on, they focus on, and it's based on unlimited wants and limited resources. First thing is, what do we produce? You've got limited resources. Do you allocate all your resources to making automobiles? Do you allocate resources to making pickup trucks? How many resources are allocated to SUVs? Do you take some of those resources you've had to manufacture automobiles, and do you allocate some more of them to build houses? What should be produced in a way that is going to satisfy the welfare or the social environment of the population. So, that's, or if you're a household, you're trying to figure out what are we going to fix for dinner tonight based on our limited resources. And then the second thing is, how should they be produced? So there are production processes. Even in a household, there's a production process of how to make that pot of chili. And so how's it going to be produced? Is it going to be produced on, a cooktop? Is it going to be produced in the microwave? Or, they're going to go out to the local Publix somewhere, or Kroger's, and buy ready-made chili, or canned chili and bring it in and dump it in a pot, heat it up, and they're good to go. So it's what are we going to produce? How are we going to produce it? And for whom is it going to be produced, or for whom is it going to be allocated? And if you think about it, the United States, and we'll kind of move away from the chili, but you think about goods and services in the United States. For the most part, the free market allocates those goods and services. There are some services that are allocated based on equity, based on income levels. You start getting into things like food stamps and Medicaid, and dual eligible with Medicare and Medicaid. So there are so healthcare services. While the free market drives a lot of it, it is also an allocation process. Some countries, for the goods and services, it's first come, first serve. Some countries have lotteries. If you think about, think about the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl is, kind of essentially a lottery. When I was in graduate school at Ohio State, if you wanted football tickets in the fall or basketball tickets in the winter, it was essentially a lottery. You wrote them a check. If I wanted football tickets, I wrote them a check in January and sent it to the athletic department. My name went in, and I always requested 2 tickets. I was at Ohio State 4 years and never did get season tickets to the football game. So, but I would always send that check in January. They would keep my check, go through the lottery process. I would get a note said, "Oh, I'm sorry, you didn't win the lottery. You didn't get football tickets," and they would eventually return my money to me in November, December, and start the process again. So you can do lottery, you can do first come, first serve, you can do some kind of a social process that you allocate goods and services to. But for the most part, in the United States, it is a free market or a capitalistic market, however you want to look at it. And a lot of the free services are allocated, driven on price. And we'll get into that in some of the later chapters talking about supply and demand. But when you're looking at an economy, everybody's trying to figure out, what do we produce? How do we produce it? And who do we produce it for? And in that, who do you produce it for? You've also got to figure out how's it going to be allocated. And then the next piece of it, we talk about scarcity, where we've been talking about scarcity. Now we're going to talk about opportunity cost. And the book describes an opportunity cost as the value of the best alternative foregone in making any choice. And as they talk about it in the text, most people allocate, and when it says opportunity cost, most people think of it's a financial cost. There is a dollar value assigned to it. And to some extent it is. And they talk in the text about, you've got a $20 bill in your pocket and you can take your best friend to, I can't remember, some restaurant for dinner, or you can go yourself, go to the movie, buy popcorn and, a Coke to drink with it. So, what's those? Now they're starting to look at opportunity cost. I can take my best friend out, we can have dinner, but the opportunity cost that I've incurred is now I can't take that $20 bill and go to the movie and, get popcorn and, something to drink when I'm at the movie. And you need to think about opportunity cost in terms of opportunities lost. So it's not so much how you value it, it's how you look at those opportunities that you lost. And some can't be valued. I think one of the examples, and actually it's a pretty good one, that they had in the text, it talked about if you and your significant other decide that you want to, I don't know what the term they use now, used to be, you're going steady, you're engaged, or if you were in a fraternity and a sorority, you everybody talked about, well, oh my God, they got pinned last night or whatever. But when you make that commitment to another individual, think of all of the other potential opportunities to date somebody else that you're losing out on. And that, again, is an opportunity cost. Let's say you get up and you decide not to go to class in the morning. Okay, you decide not to go to class. You're going to hang out at home. You're going to play some video games. You're going to watch whatever daytime trash is on TV, but you are foregoing the opportunity of going to class and learning something. The opportunity of going to class, increasing your knowledge base, and at least in theory, making a better grade in class. So staying home, you think that's a great idea, but your opportunity cost is what have you lost in going to class and not going to class? And it's the same thing if you're in a fraternity or a sorority and you're having a big fraternity party tonight, you think, man, I've got a test tomorrow. I need to study for, but I'm going to the party for just a few minutes. I'll go over and have, maybe I have a drink and, we'll, talk to a few people, but I'm not going to stay long. And the next thing you know, it's like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. You go home, you go to bed, you forget about studying. You may make it to class, take tests, or you may not. But you may not do as well as you could have, and that is your opportunity cost for going to that party. And some students, especially when they're first starting out, they don't understand with opportunity costs, you can kind of categorize them as short-run opportunity costs. Go to the party, have a good time, didn't do that well on the test, or you can look at them as long-term opportunity cost. Went to the party, had a great time, didn't study, didn't do as well on the test as I could have, hurts my GPA. After 4 years, you decide, or after 3 years, depending on how long it takes you to get your undergraduate degree, you decide you want to go to graduate school, your GPA is not what it should be. Or maybe you want to go to medical school or law school, and they're looking at it, your GPA is not what it should be. And so that's kind of a long run opportunity cost because it impacts your ability to get a graduate degree, to get some kind of a terminal degree, and improve your income going forward into future years. So that's what we're looking at as, kind of long run. So just think about all of these, all of these concepts when you're making decisions, because everybody, again, has unlimited wants, limited resources, and there's an opportunity cost attached to every decision you make. If you go back to the opportunity cost of again, going to the party, studying for the test, going to class, just think about those as you're moving forward, because not everything is valued in dollars and cents. There are also other opportunities or other ways to value the opportunity cost. That's going to kind of wrap up this introduction piece or introductory segment to Chapter 1. We're going to talk about in this next segment, we're going to talk about some building blocks of economics, what really sets it apart from the social sciences, and talk about just the features of as it distinguishes economics from other social sciences, kind of how the thought process of an economist works. So we'll talk to everybody in a few minutes, and we'll move on to the next segment. Thank you.